Welcome back to the channel, guys. This is the review on the Xperia 10. This is supposed to be a mid-ranged smartphone which costs £300. Now, I want to get this out of the way with first, because a lot of people, and I agree with them, have said this. This is the Snapdragon 630, £300. It's got 3 GB of RAM. I think Sony should have at least included Snapdragon 660 or even the Snapdragon 636, and then maybe include at least 4 gigs of RAM as well, because you also get the Xiaomi Mi A2, which I reviewed last year, which was one of my most favourites design wise. It had Snapdragon 660 and that cost just over £200. Then also you obviously got the Pocophone F1 with the Snapdragon 845. That costs under £300. And then even recently the Umidigi F1, which costs £200, has a faster processor than this and more RAM. So I think people who are going to buy this are probably going to be die-hard Sony fans. That's my personal opinion. But I'm not taking away the fact it's unique in its design. It is a narrow smartphone. I've not seen a phone like it. It is built really well, and I've slowly fallen in love with the 21:9 aspect ratio. And if you can find the content online for 21:9 aspect ratio, then it is quite a joy to watch. Even when comparing it to my Pixel 3 XL, it can play the 21:9 content, but you get the border at the top and the bottom of the phone. So like I said, design-wise, it's very unique, very nice. I like the elongated display, or the whole phone. And it does have Gorilla Glass 5 and has a resolution of 2520 by 1080p. Some people have said that it's so narrow it looks like a remote control. I can definitely sort of see where they're coming from there, but it's slightly wider than your normal average control. One drawback I've noticed about the 21:9, the narrow display, is you fit less. Obviously the width of the display, you're not going to get much in. And especially using apps like Instagram, when you're looking at Insta stories, you can see the writing at both edges sort of cut off. So it's not properly optimized yet for 21:9 aspect ratio, and some things won't be at the moment. But that's definitely one drawback I've found with that. Holding it in the hand, because I've got quite huge hands, it can be a little bit cumbersome at times, although it does feel a little easier to hold than most smartphones I've used. But because obviously my hands are so big, it sort of disappears in my hand sometimes. If you've got really, really tiny hands, then it'd be pretty cool. You can also double tap the button there to use one-handed mode and shift it to either left or right side. Just tap the black to enable it full screen again. One of my most favourite parts of the phone is the right-hand side with the fingerprint sensor, volume rocker and power. I think they look really great. It's a mirror effect, what is literally a mirror on the fingerprint sensor. One thing I don't like about that is I believe the volume and the power are too flush to the edge of the phone. So there are times when I'm feeling around for the buttons and I'm not exactly hitting it as well as I should. I'm trying to turn the volume down, but I'm actually turning it up. And same with the power as well. Fingerprint sensor works 8 times out of 10, but there are times where the fingerprint sensor will just become completely unresponsive, and I've just had to manually put in my code. And performance-wise, I have played PUBG on this. I haven't created a dedicated video for that though, unfortunately. I had a couple of games, and it suggests to play it on low graphical settings, which I did, and it played absolutely fine on low graphical settings. In other parts of performance, like navigating through the smartphone, it's not bad. There are occasions where it does freeze up occasionally, and especially when using the camera app, when you're opening it and maybe closing it again, it'll sort of freeze and glitch for a couple of moments. And you do get that with the odd app here and there when opening or closing. Battery life is average 2,870 milliamps. I was hoping for better battery life. The worst screen on time was 4 hours and 17 minutes, with 5% left at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, early evening. I had to put it on charge again, obviously. I use WhatsApp, Facebook, Maps, a little bit of YouTube. So I wasn't even gaming much on this smartphone. so you'd get considerably less battery life. The best I got out of it one day was 5 hours and 36 minutes. As days went by, the battery did seem to get better. This was the best I've managed. YouTube, Facebook, Maps, WhatsApp, and again, I don't think I gamed on that day either. That was 7:40 at night with 3% left, but I expected a little bit better battery performance. So, come to the back of the device. It's not metal or glass. It's a polycarbonate plastic. It does look pretty nice. I've got the blue effect, or the blue colour. It's got like a metallic effect to it as well. Now, this is where it houses the dual rear cameras and the flashlight. You can also see the NFC is on this phone too. So the main camera is 13 megapixel and a 5 megapixel depth sensor. And you can also shoot in 21:9 in 4K and 21:9 photos. I was expecting a lot better in terms of camera performance. Where this really gets let down is low light. And I'm not meaning sort of in the evening time. Well, I am meaning that, but I'm also meaning even in the daytime, indoors, it's not as crisp as I'd like to see on a mid-range Sony smartphone. But without a doubt, when you take this outside, you do get some really, really good shots. The dynamic range is pretty good as well. The details in the clouds. Bokeh effect outdoors works better than it does indoors. And here you'll see why. I'll show you these pictures and videos of the Xperia 10. So this is the selfie video on the Xperia 10. I'm using the full aspect ratio 21:9, so it's going to look quite... I'm probably not going to fit it all on there actually, but that is the 21:9 version. This is the normal full HD version for the front selfie camera, standing right in front of the window, and really good quality. This camera, front and back, does suffer in low light. Quite bad actually, which I'll show you soon. So they're getting a bit darker now, although it's the daytime. In here it gets a little bit darker. There's a bit of noise settling in there. Okay, this is full HD 60 frames per second. It's a bit wonky. What's happened there? Dynamic range seems pretty good. Handling the clouds and the sun. Okay, cool. Now this is 4K at 21:9 aspect ratio, so nice and wide. Let's see if there's any. Okay. walker down here. Stabilisation, there's no stabilisation really, I don't think. Doesn't seem too bad. Okay, that'll do. Hope you guys know what you thought. Yeah, taking outdoor shots are great of landscapes and stuff like that. It looks really, really nice. A lot of cameras can look really, really nice. But when you're indoors in the evening, you want to take a picture of, I don't know, whatever, kids and stuff like that, that's when you can really see the potential of a camera as well, in them sort of conditions, all sorts of conditions. So I hope that me including some of them rubbish photos, it gets, you know, you can see exactly what the camera can and can't do. Okay, I'm going to run a quick broadband, well not broadband, mobile data speed test. 4G EE, I'm not getting very good signal up here actually, 1 bar. Don't normally have that problem. Okay, that's decent speeds down and up, and signal's just improved now. It's nearly full whack. This takes me on to GPS. As you can imagine, GPS works absolutely fine. Locks onto your location quick. Navigation's fast. No problems here. Sony phone, they have the high quality audio settings, so you can enable the DS-EEHX, upgrade the quality of compressed music files. So you can have that enabled. You can also have that off and just have clear audio on to optimize sound settings. Now, if you watched my unboxing video last week, you would notice I did do an audio test and I found it to be sort of average sounding really. That was before I played around with the audio settings, and the settings within this work really well, and that audio was much, much better than the unboxing video. So that works really, really great. So this brings me pretty much to the end of the review on the Xperia 10. If you've got £300, then you're probably going to get something different to this. If you're a hardcore Sony fan, then you'll probably want to get it. I mean, absolutely, the display is really, really good. It is great, and the viewing angles are very good as well. Design, it is unique, and it is really nice. It's quite plain at the back, but it's simple, and it is smart. It is a good design. I love the side panel with the fingerprint sensor there, and the volume and the power. That's really, really good. The top forehead, it's a bit chunky, isn't it? But at least Sony aren't copying, are they? They're setting their own sort of trends. And if other manufacturers are going to adopt the 21:9 aspect ratio, then they may start looking similar to this. Unfortunately for me, because things are not properly optimized at 21:9, like Instagram and the Instagram stories where stuff gets cut off the edge, that lets it down. Battery performance is average. General performance as well is a little bit stuttery at times. So I think you can definitely buy better for £300. I mean, the phones that I mentioned earlier in the review, they obviously would perform better than what this can. Maybe a few updates and tweaks from Sony might fix some of them problems. I don't know. Camera-wise, it does take some excellent photos when you're outdoors. But for me personally, when I've used it indoors, you struggle to get a perfect shot unless you're really, really still, and you need to like plan your pictures in a sense. But like I said, I'm not taking anything away from Sony. It is a really nice design. Perhaps they could have had slightly thicker buttons, or even buttons with sort of like a textured surface so you can feel exactly where they are, because you do get a little bit lost every now and again, especially between the bottom of the fingerprint sensor and the top of the volume rocker. You may have mistaken that for that at times. But that is it, guys. That's the review on the Xperia 10. Oh, it's got a 3.5mm socket, which is good. It's a good phone, don't get me wrong. It does pretty much, it does what it's supposed to do. but you can get better for £300 out there. Absolutely can. So please let me know your thoughts. Links are in the description below if you want to purchase any. Give the video a thumbs up, subscribe, and I'll see you very soon. Bye-bye.